Now we're going to go over some prohibited questions. I've categorized these questions into 3 different categories. The first category would cover age, citizenship, marital family, military discharge, police record. If there is a requirement to be met or a restriction, the HR office will verify the required information or restriction. An example, firefighters have an entry age restriction of 37 years of age, meaning anyone over age 37 is not eligible for appointment. There are exceptions. An example would be somebody who retired out of the military who is over 37 years of age but was a firefighter on active duty. Second category. For security, the interviewer may let the interviewed candidate know the position requires a clearance, but asking if the employee has a clearance is prohibited. For education, the interviewer may ask questions only in reference to the job to be filled and how any education may address the KSAs. The third category covers race, color, economic status, religion, sex. Under no circumstances is asking a question appropriate. Some considerations for a productive interview: be well prepared. Allow interview candidates to review the questions. If you allow the candidates to review the questions, you have to provide the questions to all the candidates. Utilize the same interview methods for all candidates. If possible, either use telephonic interviews or face-to-face. Try not to mix the types of interviews. All candidates must be provided the same considerations. Some practices to avoid. Selection prior to interview. Never indicate you have made a selection before all interviews are completed. Do not make promises of promotion or selection. Only interview those candidates on a referral certificate. The interview is intended to acquire additional information that was not available on the resume that was referred. Do not try to solicit a declination from any candidate. An example of this would be trying to tell somebody that one of the candidates over the telephone that they were probably better if they waited and took a different job. Do not assume an accent to be a liability. Avoid common rating errors. Do not interview with a negative attitude. Always be upbeat. Do not use terms like boy, gal, honey, dear, which could be deemed as derogatory. Do not ask questions when the information is already available. Like I stated before, the interview is intended to acquire additional information that is not available on the resume. Some common rating errors. Halo effect is generalizing either positively or negatively a candidate's overall ranking based on a single attribute. Do not make a decision based solely on one attribute. An example, you have an applicant that attended Harvard University. That could be, you could consider that either a negative or a positive, but you don't want to use that as the sole decision. Stereotyping is attributing traits or characteristics based on sex, race, ethnic group, religion, creed, or any other grouping. Leniency or harshness. If most ratings fall at either end of the scale, an accurate objective assessment was not achieved. Central tendency. Same as leniency or harshness, but with most ratings falling in the middle range. Example, a female candidate would not be able to do the warehouse work to the same ability as a male candidate. Contrast errors. Contrast errors occur when the rating of one candidate is influenced positively or negatively when compared to another candidate's performance. Utilize objective criteria and not comparison to other candidates. Attributes of good interview questions. They should be prepared in writing. If required, the HR office should have approved the questions prior to the interview. They should be objective, meaning without bias or prejudice. They should be straightforward. There are no trick questions. You want to utilize the KSAs from the PD. You should be concerned with experience or training, nothing personal. Allow the candidate to provide sufficient information. Do not cut them off or tell them that, okay, I think we've got enough information. Use a vocabulary that is utilized in the job and the duties, and be straightforward. Also, the questions should be asked one at a time. Do not ask a series of questions and then intend to have the candidate answer all three at once. No yes, no questions. Don't ask questions that have obvious answers. Do not deal with sensitive items. And remember, it is not a test.